Welcome to the deep dive. You know that feeling, right? When
Yeah.
you've put in the hours, maybe months, maybe even years learning English, and yet you just feel kind of stuck.
Uh-huh. Like you've hit a plateau.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the progress just stopped.
Yeah.
It's super common,
Uh,
apparently. And look, it's almost never about not trying hard enough
yeah.
or, not being smart enough.
Absolutely. It's really more about maybe needing a bit of a course correction, adjusting the way you're learning.
Okay.
So our goal today really is to dig into why that happens. What are those like hidden things holding people back? And more importantly, what can you actually do about it?
Right, the practical stuff.
Yeah, professional strategies, things that actually work to, break through that feeling of being stuck.
And we've got some really interesting ideas lined up. We're going to talk about how sometimes unlearning things is key.
Counterintuitive, maybe?
Yeah. And moving from just kind of passively hearing English to really actively training your brain
Yeah.
and using tools you've already got, like right in front of you.
Your phone, for instance. We'll get into that. Plus, weaving English into your actual daily life, not just study time.
Okay.
And things like emotional fluency, expressing feelings, not just facts. Becoming your own best critic. In a good way.
Self-feedback.
Uh-huh. The power of small, consistent steps. And maybe the biggest one, the mindset shift around what fluency even means.
That it's not just some magic talent people have.
Exactly. It's a result. Okay, so let's dive in with that first one, the unlearning bit. Seems like a weird place to start, right? Stop doing things.
It does sound a bit backwards.
Yeah.
How does unlearning help you improve?
Well, think about it like this. Sometimes the habits we pick up while trying to learn, they actually become the roadblocks.
Like trying to run with weights on.
Perfect analogy. You can train and train, but if you're carrying those weights, you're always going to be slower, right?
Makes sense. So what are these weights in English learning?
Some really common ones that came up in our research. Obsessing over getting every single grammar point perfect before you even open your mouth.
Oh, yeah. That fear.
That fear, exactly. Or constantly stopping yourself mid-sentence to correct tiny little errors. That fear of just sounding wrong.
Like we're programmed to chase perfection over just talking.
Precisely. And look, accuracy is important eventually, but focusing too hard on it, especially early on, can just freeze you up.
Like thinking about every single footstep when you're trying to dance. You just stop moving.
You've got it. You need some room to wobble a bit, focus on the overall flow, not every tiny detail.
Okay, so if perfect grammar isn't the goal, at least not initially, what should we be aiming for instead?
The big shift is towards clear communication. That's the priority.
Communication over correctness.
In a way, yes. Ask yourself, did they get my idea? Not, was that sentence grammatically flawless? Focus on the impact of your words.
That's actually a huge relief to hear, I think.
Yeah.
Judging success by whether you were understood.
It is. It changes how you feel about speaking. So a really practical step here is to track that. After a conversation, just mentally check, was my point clear? That's your new measure of progress.
Okay, I like that. Shifting the focus. Now let's talk about listening. Because I think lots of us, myself included, put on a show in English, maybe stick the subtitles on and think, great, I'm practicing.
Right, and it feels productive.
Yeah, but the stuff we looked at suggests maybe that's not the best training.
Well, it comes back to that idea of active versus passive learning. Watching Netflix in English. It's exposure, sure, you might pick up words, but is your brain actively working with the spoken language in a way that builds your speaking skills? Probably not much.
So it's more like entertainment with an English soundtrack.
Pretty much. It's passive absorption. To really improve speaking, you need active engagement.
Okay, so how do we get active? This idea of active shadowing came up. What's that?
Active shadowing is, it's a really powerful technique. Basically, you take a short bit of audio or video, just a sentence or two, pause it.
Okay.
Then you repeat exactly what you just heard. But we're not just saying the words. You're trying to mimic everything. The speed, the tone, the rhythm, the pauses.
So like really imitating the sound and flow, not just the text.
Precisely. You're trying to sound like the speaker. And doing this, it actually starts to, rewire your brain for speaking.
How so?
It trains your mouth and your ear to work together much more closely. You're physically practicing making those English sounds and rhythms. It helps you sound way more natural, less robotic, maybe.
That sounds way more intense than just watching TV. But I can see how it would work.
Okay, cool. What about practice partners? Is finding a native speaker the only way so many learners feel that pressure?
Yeah, that's a big one. And look, talking to people, especially native speakers, is obviously valuable. Real-time interaction, confidence building, great stuff. But Is it the only way to make progress, especially when you feel stuck? Maybe not. We often forget about a practice partner we carry around all day.
Let me guess. Our phones.
You got it. The voice recorder app on your phone.
Seriously powerful.
Okay. Intrigued. How does that work as a practice partner?
It's super simple. End of the day, grab your phone, hit record, and just talk for, say, 90 seconds. Summarize your day in English. What you did, how you felt, whatever.
Just talk to myself.
Yep. But then, and this is the crucial part, you listen back to it.
Ooh, I bet that's revealing. Hearing yourself.
It really is. You'll suddenly notice things. Oh, I couldn't find that word, or wow, I paused a lot there, or oops, I keep making that same mistake with the preposition.
Right. Things you don't notice in the moment.
Exactly. It's instant feedback from yourself. And the amazing thing is, if you do this consistently, your brain starts noticing these patterns as you speak. It starts self-correcting in real time.
So you catch yourself before you make the mistake.
Or you start naturally reaching for better phrases. You begin thinking more in English phrases rather than translating word for word in your head. It's a big shift.
That sounds fundamental. Okay, so we've got unlearning bad habits, active listening with shadowing, and using our phones for solo practice. What about just living life in English? The sources talk about integration.
Yeah, this is moving beyond study time. Fluency doesn't just happen in those dedicated blocks. It really blossoms when English stops being a subject and starts being a tool you use every day.
Like making it part of the furniture of your life.
Exactly. Ask yourself, do you only use English when you're specifically practicing English? Or does it pop up elsewhere?
And the goal is to make it pop up more often, naturally.
Precisely. And there are simple ways to do that. Things mentioned were like, change your phone's language setting to English.
Ooh, brave.
Yeah. Or follow social media accounts, meme pages, news sites, whatever in English. Read reviews in English. Try writing comments or simple reviews in English.
Little things, but they add up to create more of an English bubble.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where you're just encountering English all the time in low-stakes ways. It normalizes it.
So fluency comes from that kind of messy, real-world exposure, not just the clean, organized textbook stuff.
That real, raw, messy daily exposure, that's where the magic happens, yeah. It allows you to absorb the language more like you absorbed your first language.
Okay, got it. Now here's one that caught my eye. Emotional fluency. That sounds deeper than just vocabulary. What is it?
Emotional fluency is about going beyond just stating facts. It's about being able to express feelings naturally in English, showing surprise or frustration or sarcasm or excitement.
Like the tone and feeling behind the words.
Exactly. The sources pointed out that sometimes learners can sound a bit flat, even if their grammar is okay.
Yeah, I can imagine that. If you're just focused on getting the words right, the emotion might get lost.
And that often happens because we don't consciously practice expressing those emotions in English. How do native speakers sound when they're annoyed or thrilled?
So the advice is to
pay attention to tone. Listen for how native speakers convey emotion, and then try practicing those tones yourself, even just exaggerating them when you practice alone. It makes your English sound so much more alive, more human.
Yeah, adds that personality layer. Makes sense. Okay, we talked about using phone recordings for feedback. But what about when you're mid-conversation? You make mistakes, but maybe no one corrects you. How do you avoid just practicing your mistakes?
That's a really valid concern. Reinforcing errors is definitely a risk if there's no feedback loop. So you need to build the skill of self-feedback, self-reflection after you speak. Become your own coach.
And there was a specific process mentioned for this, right? Like a quick review.
Yes, a simple 3-step reflection. After you've had a conversation or even just practice speaking, take a second and note down. 1, what went well? What felt easy or fluent?
Okay, positive first. Yeah.
2, what felt hard? Where did you struggle for words or feel awkward? And 3, based on that, what's one specific thing you'll try to work on or fix next time?
Just one thing.
Just one thing. Keep it focused. This whole process builds awareness. And awareness is always the first step to getting better. You can't fix what you don't notice.
Right. Becoming a more conscious speaker. Okay. Let's switch gears slightly to motivation. Lots of people start strong, full of enthusiasm.
And then fizzle out. Yeah.
Why does that happen so often? The sources mentioned vague goals.
That's a huge factor. If your goal is just, I want to be fluent, well, what does that even mean? How do you know when you get there? It's too big, too undefined.
So it feels overwhelming and progress seems invisible.
Exactly. It's hard to stay motivated when you can't see the milestones.
So what's the fix? More specific goals.
Definitely. Think SMART goal specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. Instead of be fluent, try, I will record myself speaking for 2 minutes every single day for the next 30 days.
Okay, that's concrete. You can track that.
Yes, and you absolutely should track it. Tick off those days on a calendar, build a streak, use an app, whatever works. And this is important, reward yourself. Hit 10 days, great. 20 days, awesome. Celebrate those small wins.
Because that builds momentum, right? Makes you feel like you're actually getting somewhere.
It builds momentum, it builds confidence, it makes the whole thing feel less like a giant mountain and more like a series of achievable steps. Those small wins are fuel.
Love it. Okay, last big point.
Yeah.
This one feels fundamental. The deep truth, as the source called it, our beliefs about ourselves.
Yeah, yes, that nagging feeling some people have.
Yeah.
I'm just not good at languages.
That fixed mindset.
Exactly, and it's incredibly self-sabotaging. If you
Yeah.
deep down believe you can't learn, well, you probably won't push through the tough part.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It really can. So how do we fight that?
Yeah, how do we shift that belief?
It's about fundamentally reframing what fluency is. It is absolutely not some magical gift you're born with or without.
So what is it then?
It's the result of showing up, of putting in the effort, of making mistakes and learning from them, of getting feedback, of trying again, and crucially, of giving it time. Consistent effort over time. That's it.
So anyone can get there if they use the right methods and stick with it.
Absolutely. You don't need special permission to speak English. You just need the courage to start, knowing it won't be perfect, and the persistence to keep going.
That's really powerful. Okay, wow, we covered a lot. Let's try a quick recap.
Good idea.
So we hit on unlearning habits that block you, like perfectionism, getting active with listening, like shadowing, using your phone to practice speaking and give yourself feedback,
Right. Making English a tool in your everyday life, not just a subject. Developing emotional fluency so you sound more natural and expressive.
and that self-reflection piece, what went well, what was hard, what to fix next time. Setting those small, trackable goals to build momentum.
And finally, ditching that limiting belief. Believing in your ability to learn because fluency comes from effort, not innate talent.
Phew.
Mhm.
Okay, so the big message seems to be, if you feel stuck, you're probably not actually stuck.
Not permanently, anyway. You might just be one or two strategic shifts away in your methods or your mindset from getting things moving again.
Right. It's about finding the right keys to unlock that progress. Okay, so, listener, here's a little challenge for you, a call to action.
Let's hear it.
Head down to the comments. We want you to write just one sentence in English, starting with, I used to struggle with. And then give us a real example, like, I used to struggle with speaking spontaneously without translating in my head.
Yeah, be honest. Share a specific struggle. It helps to see we're not alone in these things.
Totally. And also, let us know. Would you be interested in more deep dives like this? Maybe turning these kinds of truth bombs into a regular weekly thing, focusing on specific fluency strategies.
We're genuinely curious to hear if that would be valuable for you all.
Definitely let us know. And just remember, wrapping up, this whole journey, it's not really about hitting some mythical standard of perfect English. It's about getting to a place where you can finally express yourself, share your ideas, connect with people, speak the way you've always wanted to.
You're not stuck. You're just on the path. Keep going.